power, love, and betrayal are once again colliding in New York's high society, and at the center of it all stand the Russells. Season 4 of The Gilded Age promises more than just glamour and glittering chandeliers. It promises a storm that could either destroy the Russells forever or give them a chance at redemption. Their marriage is on the brink. Their enemies are circling, and their reputation is hanging by a thread. And now, one event, a wedding, may become their only chance to save everything they have built. But in a world where every smile hides a dagger, can the Russells truly trust that a wedding will be their salvation, or will it become the very stage where they are destroyed? The Russells have always stood for power, ambition, and victory. Bertha Russell forced her way into New York's elite society with relentless determination, refusing to bow to the old money families who tried to keep her out. She fought for her place, she claimed her throne, and she built a dynasty that commanded both fear and respect. But now, as season 4 begins, we see a different picture, one filled with cracks, whispers, and betrayal. Season 3 ended with Bertha at her highest, triumph yet also at her most fragile. She had outmaneuvered rivals, secured her daughter's future, and placed herself at the very center of the city's power. Yet behind the polished marble of her victories lies a truth she cannot ignore. Her marriage is falling apart. George Russell, the man who once stood as her greatest ally, now feels like a stranger in her own home. His love, once fierce and unwavering, has grown cold. He feels betrayed by Bertha's willingness to sacrifice affection for ambition, and in his silence, Bertha sees a danger greater than any rival society matron could pose. For without George at her side, her empire is vulnerable. George himself is battling demons of his own. His near-death experience at the end of season 3 haunts him still. A single bullet, fired not out of passion, but out of calculation, nearly ended his life. And now, he is obsessed with uncovering the truth. Who wanted him dead? Who among his allies hides a blade behind their smile? His mind, once razor-sharp in business, is now clouded by suspicion. Every deal feels like a trap, every conversation a test. Even as Bertha dreams of unity, George sees betrayal at every corner. This obsession is driving him further from his wife and deeper into the shadows of paranoia. And this is where the danger lies. In New York society, weakness is blood in the water. The gossip mills thrive on scandal, and whispers can destroy faster than facts. Bertha knows this better than anyone. If George drifts too far, if he is seen with another woman, or if his distance becomes too visible, her enemies will pounce. Already rivals like Agnes Van Ryn and Mrs. Winterton sharpen their claws, waiting for the moment the Russells stumble. And what greater stumble could there be than a fractured marriage exposed before the eyes of New York? Yet amid this chaos, one hope glimmers on the horizon, the wedding of Marion and Larry. For Bertha, this wedding is more than a celebration of love. It is a lifeline. It is her chance to show New York that the Russells remain united, powerful, and unshakable. A flawless wedding could silence the whispers, force rivals to retreat, and even remind George of the family they built together. Bertha sees this as her redemption, her chance to heal the fractures in her home and her reputation in one sweeping gesture. But in the Gilded Age, nothing is ever simple. Every guest list is a map of alliances. Every whispered conversation is a test of loyalty. And every celebration carries the risk of becoming a battlefield. The wedding could become the very stage where Bertha's enemies strike hardest. 1. Rumor. One scandal, one whisper too sharp to silence. And the night that was meant to save the Russells could destroy them instead. The stakes could not be higher. For Bertha, every flower, every gown, and every glittering chandelier becomes more than decoration. It becomes armor. Armor against humiliation, against whispers, against the vultures waiting to feed on her downfall. But armor can crack, and when it does, the fall is devastating. Season 4 begins not with triumph, but with a question that hangs heavy in the air. Can the Russells use a wedding to save their fortune, their marriage, and their empire? Or will the night they believe will secure their legacy become the very moment their dynasty collapses? As preparations for the wedding unfold, the tension surrounding the Russells only deepens. For Bertha, this wedding is more than just a family milestone. It is a carefully constructed display of power. Every gilded invitation, every jewel selected, Every note of the orchestra is designed with precision. To the world, it will look like celebration. To Bertha, it is a battlefield she must control, because she knows that in New York society, appearances are everything, and appearances can be destroyed in an instant. Bertha throws herself into the planning, determined to create perfection. Yet even as she focuses on flowers and silks, she cannot escape the gnawing truth. George is slipping further away. He is his mob. Once passionate devotion has hardened into cold distance. His eyes no longer light with admiration when he looks at her, but with suspicion and bitterness. And though Bertha would never admit it aloud, she fears that her husband's heart may already belong elsewhere. The rumors in society echo her worst fear, that George may be seeking comfort in another woman's arms. If those whispers grow louder, if they spread during the wedding itself, it will not only shatter her marriage, but also destroy the image of unity she has built for the Russells. George, meanwhile, views the wedding through entirely different eyes. To him, this is not a moment of joy, nor even of family pride. It is a distraction, a performance staged while he hunts shadows. The attempt on his life lingers in his mind like an open wound. He cannot rest until he knows who tried to kill him and why. And as the wedding approaches, he grows more convinced that his enemies are closer than anyone dares to imagine. He looks at business partners, allies, even old friends, and wonders who smiles while hiding a dagger. Every handshake feels staged, every polite conversation a mask. This obsession makes him unpredictable. At times he grows restless and sharp, quick to anger when others fail to share his suspicions. At other times, he falls into brooding silence, his mind consumed by the shadow of his would-be assassin. Bertha sees this change, feels the distance between them growing, but she does not know how to pull him back. Her world is measured in society's approval, but his is now consumed by vengeance. And if George cannot step away from his paranoia, Bertha's perfect wedding may unravel before it even begins. The enemies circling the Russells see their chance. Agnes Van Ryn, with her sharp tongue and disdain for new money, waits for Bertha to falter. To her, this wedding is a trial, a test of whether Bertha truly belongs in the world she has fought so hard to join. Agnes knows that one mistake, one whisper of scandal, could undo Bertha's fragile position. And then there is Mrs. Winterton. Once a servant, now clawing her way into society with ambition sharper than steel. Her hunger for power is insatiable, and with Oscar Van Ryn at her side, she has the tools to strike directly at Bertha's pride. To them, this wedding is not a celebration to admire, but a perfect stage on which to unleash ruin. The whispers have already begun. Guests speculate about George's coldness toward his wife, about the rumors of another woman, about whether the Russells are as strong as they appear. Each whisper spreads like smoke, invisible yet suffocating. And Bertha knows that if these rumors are not silenced, the wedding could turn from triumph into humiliation. Still, she clings to hope. She believes that if the wedding dazzles with unmatched grandeur, if George stands by her side, if their son and Marion's love shines brightly enough, then perhaps she can turn gossip into admiration, whispers into applause. For Bertha, the wedding is not just about her children, it is about survival. But the danger is real, and the Russells' world is fragile. A single rumor spoken at the wrong moment, a single slip of pride, a single enemy's scheme could be enough to unravel it all. As the guest lists are finalized and the mansion prepares to host the grandest spectacle of the season, the question grows louder with every passing day. Will the Russells' fortune and legacy be saved by this wedding? Or will the celebration become the very trap that destroys them? But secrets, like cracks in the foundation of a great mansion, have a way of widening until the whole structure trembles. Just when it seems the Russells' problems might be solved by a perfectly calculated marriage, whispers begin to travel through New York's glittering social salons. Whispers that Bertha Russell's daughter may not be as willing as her mother to sacrifice love for power. And in this world, hesitation is dangerous. Every suitor is watched, every decision analyzed, and one wrong move could destroy the carefully constructed future of the Russell Empire. The pressure builds with every passing week. Invitations to dinners and soirees become more than polite gestures. They are battlefields disguised in candlelight and crystal chandeliers. The Van Ryns, ever watchful, begin to notice that Bertha is tightening her grip on her daughter's choices. Some see desperation, others see strength, but all agree that the fate of the Russells rests heavily on one young woman's shoulders. Yet in the shadows, rivals are already plotting. For in the Gilded Age, nothing is more dangerous than ambition left unchecked. Behind closed doors, George Russell too feels the tension. His business ventures, while vast, have begun to show cracks under the weight of aggressive competition and political maneuvering. The whispers of financial instability are not mere gossip. They are daggers aimed at his reputation. And in this age, reputation is everything. One false rumor, one failed deal, and the empire he built with iron and steel could crumble. George knows that Bertha's plan may be their only lifeline, yet even he wonders, can love and loyalty survive when every choice is a transaction? The city itself becomes a stage for this silent war. Newspapers, ever hungry for scandal, hint at the Russells' decline, though never outright. Rivals leak stories, and allies quietly distance themselves, waiting to see which way the wind blows. Every headline feels like a strike, every social slight like a warning. And through it all, Bertha pushes forward, determined to secure an alliance, so unbreakable that even the harshest critics will be silenced. But the question lingers, at what cost? As the wedding negotiations deepen, an unexpected complication rises. Another family, equally wealthy and powerful, begins courting the Russells with promises of an even greater alliance. But their intentions are far from pure. Their fortune is built on shaky ground, and they see the Russells' desperation as an opportunity to secure their own survival. If Bertha chooses wrong, she could bind her family to ruin disguised as salvation. It is a gamble, one that could either save the Russells or drag them into scandal so deep they may never recover. The suspense only grows as loyalties are tested. Bertha's daughter faces a choice that could either cement her place in high society or shatter her own happiness forever. George finds himself pulled into dangerous political games where allies turn to enemies in the blink of an eye. And the city watches, waiting, eager to see if the mighty Russells will rise even higher or fall spectacularly. Because in the world of the Gilded Age, wealth is never safe, power is never permanent, and every glittering ballroom hides shadows that could consume even the brightest family name. The Russells may believe they can control their fate through strategy and sacrifice, but as the pieces move across this grand chessboard, one wrong step could bring the entire empire crashing down. But just when it feels like the Russells might finally find their way back into stability, the story takes a darker and more unpredictable turn. Because in the world of the Gilded Age, nothing ever comes without a price. The whispers of a strategic wedding echo through the halls, but beneath those polished surfaces lies a deeper struggle, a fight not just for wealth, but for survival. Bertha knows that if her daughter is married into one of New York's most powerful families, their fortune could be shielded from the storm. But what happens when love collides with duty? What happens when a heart refuses to bend to society's rules? That's the question haunting every character in this season. The strategic wedding may look like the perfect solution, but alliances are fragile in this world. Rivals are waiting to exploit the smallest crack. If the Russell family forces their daughter into a marriage purely for power, it might stabilize their finances, but it could also tear the family apart from within. Their daughter's quiet defiance hints at a rebellion, and in this society, even the faintest scandal can set tongues wagging and reputations crumbling. Will Bertha risk her daughter's happiness for survival, or will she gamble with their fortune and search for another path? Meanwhile, George Russell finds himself in an equally dangerous position. His empire is not collapsing because of poor decisions, but because competitors and enemies have been sharpening their knives for years. He suspects betrayal within his closest circle, and trust becomes his most difficult currency. Each move he makes feels like walking across thin ice. Any wrong step could send his entire fortune crashing down. The wedding might save them on the surface, but George knows that money alone cannot protect him from hidden enemies lurking in the shadows of business and politics. The tension builds as secrets spill into the open. The elite of New York watch closely, waiting to see if the mighty Russells will fall or rise again. Gossip spreads faster than truth, and with every passing day, the pressure grows heavier. The wedding negotiations turn into a battlefield where every glance, every whispered promise, every exchange of power could decide the family's future. Will this marriage secure their place among the elite, or will it trap them in an endless cycle of compromise, deceit, and regret? The brilliance of the Gilded Age lies in this very question: survival versus desire. In Season 4, the Russells are not simply fighting for money, they are fighting to define their legacy. Will they be remembered as visionaries who bent society's rules to their will, or as victims of a cruel game they thought they could control? The answer may lie in a single wedding, but behind that ceremony is the real battle, a test of loyalty, love, and ambition. And as the curtain falls on this season, one truth becomes clear. In the Gilded Age, every fortune has a cost, and not every family can afford to pay it. But just when it seems the Russells are ready to seize victory through this grand alliance, new shadows begin to stir. Secrets have a way of refusing to stay buried. And in Season 4, the glittering halls of New York society are filled with whispers sharper than knives. Every guest at a Russell dinner, every carefully chosen partner, and every smile exchanged at a ball hides something deeper: a truth, a motive, a betrayal. And soon, the cracks in the perfect plan begin to show. One of the biggest questions surrounding this supposed strategic wedding is loyalty. Does the bride truly enter this union for love? Or is it just a performance crafted to protect fortunes and reputations? And if it is all business, then who risks losing the most when the truth finally comes out? Because in this world, one false move, one misplaced word, could turn a glittering empire into nothing more than gossip and ashes. The tension doesn't only come from within the Russell household. The old money elite, the Astors, the Fanes, and all those who despise new money are waiting for the smallest misstep. For them, the Russells' climb into high society is nothing short of an invasion. To see them falter would be the sweetest revenge. And so, as whispers about alliances and fortune-saving schemes spread, the knives are sharpened behind closed doors. Every smile hides a sneer, every toast hides a challenge. The war between old money and new money is about to reach its most dangerous stage. But what if the greatest threat to the Russells doesn't come from their enemies at all? What if it comes from their own blood? Family loyalty in the Gilded Age has always been fragile, and Season 4 could take that fragility to a breaking point. The bride, the one meant to seal this powerful bond, might not be as obedient as expected. A secret love, a hidden affair, or a refusal to play by the rules could send everything spiraling into chaos. And the irony? The very marriage meant to secure the Russells' fortune might become the sword that cuts it apart. The audience is left to wonder, can George and Bertha Russell hold everything together? George, the ruthless businessman who built his empire on bold risks, now faces his most personal gamble. And Bertha, the unstoppable force who would stop at nothing to claim her place among the elite, now risks her entire social empire if this plan backfires. Will their ambition be enough to tame a society determined to keep them out, or will their hunger for power cost them the very family they seek to protect? The brilliance of the Gilded Age lies in this constant uncertainty. Nothing is safe, no victory is permanent, and no character is ever fully in control. Season 4 promises to push this to new heights, with the Russells' future hanging by a thread. A wedding that could either crown them as untouchable rulers of society or destroy them with a scandal that no amount of wealth can repair. And, as the lights glitter across New York's skyline, the question echoes louder than ever. Is the Russells' fortune strong enough to withstand betrayal, ambition, and the cruel weight of high society's judgment? Or will this carefully planned wedding become their downfall? The whispers that once floated quietly through the drawing rooms of New York are now thundering like storms. Society has reached its breaking point. The Russells are no longer seen as a family on the edge. They are now a family whose every move could reshape the delicate balance of power among New York's elite. But with so much at stake, one question overshadows every other. Can the Russells truly save themselves through marriage, or will this plan collapse under the weight of greed, pride, and hidden ambition? Bertha Russell, still determined to cement her family's name in history, pushes harder than ever. She works day and night, weaving charm and strategy into one powerful weapon. For her, this wedding is not about love, it is about survival. But with every detail, every guest list, and every alliance, Bertha risks exposing the cracks within her own household. Some say she is too ambitious. Others whisper that ambition is the only thing keeping her from complete ruin. The suspense. grows as her rivals sharpen their claws, waiting for her to stumble. The whispers that once floated quietly through the drawing rooms of New York are now thundering like storms. Society has reached its breaking point. The Russells are no longer seen as a family on the edge. They are now a family whose every move could reshape the delicate balance of power among New York's elite. But with so much at stake, one question overshadows every other. Can the Russells truly save themselves through marriage? Or will this plan collapse under the weight of greed, pride, and hidden ambition? Bertha Russell, still determined to cement her family's name in history, pushes harder than ever. She works day and night, weaving charm and strategy into one powerful weapon. For her, this wedding is not about love. It is about survival. But with every detail, every guest list, and every alliance, Bertha risks exposing the cracks within her own household. Some say she is too ambitious. Others whisper that ambition is the only thing keeping her from complete ruin. The suspense grows as her rivals sharpen their claws, waiting for her to stumble. George Russell, however, is not so easily distracted. His empire may be battered, but his instincts remain sharp. He begins digging into the motives of those surrounding his family, and what he uncovers is more dangerous than financial ruin. A secret plot emerges, one designed not only to destroy the Russells' fortune, but also to humiliate them publicly. If George cannot counter this plot in time, the wedding could become the very stage on which his family is ruined forever. Meanwhile, whispers grow louder that the bride-to-be herself may not be as loyal as Bertha believes. Could it be that the young woman destined to marry into the Russells' family has her own ambitions, her own loyalties, and perhaps even her own secret lover? The audience of high society would never forgive such betrayal, and the fallout would leave the Russells not just weakened, but exiled from the world they fought so hard to enter. The uncertainty of this match makes every step forward feel like a walk across breaking glass. The battle for survival in the Gilded Age Season 4 is more than just a clash of money and influence. It is a test of loyalty, pride, and the cost of ambition. The Russells, once seemingly untouchable, now stand at a dangerous crossroad where one wrong move could end their empire. And yet, as we have seen time and again, the Gilded Age is not an era for the faint of heart. It is a world where fortunes are built overnight and destroyed in a single scandal, where reputations rise and fall with a whisper, and where marriages are not simply unions of love, but weapons of power. This season asks us the haunting question: can the Russells truly save themselves with a strategic wedding, or will they lose everything in their desperate attempt to hold on? Each choice carries weight. Each alliance comes with a price. The drawing rooms may sparkle with chandeliers, the gowns may glitter in candlelight, but beneath that elegance lies a brutal truth. Only the strongest and most ruthless will survive. Think of Bertha Russell, standing firm in a society that continues to resist her. She is not simply fighting for acceptance, she is fighting for dominance, for the chance to rewrite the rules of old money and new. Yet her fight comes at a cost. Not just to her reputation, but to her family, to her daughter, and perhaps even to her marriage. And what of George Russell, torn between love and duty, between protecting his empire and preserving his pride? Their story is no longer just about wealth. It is about sacrifice, survival, and the lengths people will go to for power. But beyond the Russells lies the wider war of the Gilded Age itself. Every family, every fortune, every whisper of scandal adds fuel to the fire. Will the Van Ryns and the old elite succeed in pushing the Russells out once and for all? Or will Bertha finally claim her crown as the undisputed queen of New York society? One thing is certain. Season 4 does not promise peace. It promises battles in ballrooms, betrayals at dinner tables, and shocking twists that will change the game forever. And perhaps that is the true heart of this story. Not simply whether the Russells will win or lose, but whether they can endure the endless storm that is the Gilded Age. Because in this glittering, treacherous world, survival is not guaranteed. Love can be a weapon, marriage can be a battlefield, and fortune itself can vanish in an instant. So, as the chandeliers flicker and the music fades, remember this: the game is not over. The Gilded Age is only just beginning to reveal its darkest secrets. And for the Russells, the question remains: will their fortune be secured by a single wedding, or will it all come crashing down? The answer lies ahead, in a season that promises to be the most ruthless yet.